I think the why it's unusual, right? Frankly, is because the league underestimated seriously the resolve of the players and what they sought to achieve.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And this is Raising the Game, a women's sports podcast covering primetime performers, the business behind the athletes in the leagues, and what the growth of women's sports means for the next generation of women's athletes.
We're back again.
Here we are.
We have a lot to get to.
So much.
NWSL's back.
It's back, baby.
PWHL's heating up.
We're playoffs right around the corner.
Yeah, and can the WNBA get out of its own way?
And believe it or not, we still don't have a CBA.
It is 8:30 p.m. on Monday night.
We thought
on the deadline day, official deadline day.
We thought we might last week.
We didn't.
And we didn't. We're going to get into all of that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
All of that. But before we do, we have a couple of announcements and then we'll do favorite thing.
Yeah.
So a few of those announcements, we have women's college basketball brackets are out there. We are planning to fill one out and we will be posting our brackets, maybe having a little competition here on the pod before Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because that's when games start for the women's tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got some play-in games. The first 4 games start on Wednesday. And then we'll really get into the meat of the tournament. I think we'll comment a little bit on it at the end here, but without really knowing like how those games play out, it's hard to tell y'all which ones to go watch right now. Just go watch them all. This is like one of my favorite weekends of the NCAA tournament because there's just basketball on all the time. Right. Another announcement, we launched last week our official website, which the URL is rtgpod.com. So right now, pretty simplistic. We've got some bios for both of us as well as sort of summarized show notes. So if you wanted to go back and reference, or if you just prefer to read to digest some of your women's sports news, you can feel free to do that on our website. Hope to have more things there in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then final thing that we have for you coming here at the end of the month, we will be releasing on our normal release day, but a special episode focused on the history of women's sports. So we chose couple pioneers that we wanted to focus on. We're going to take you through a little bit of that journey, really talk about the impact and influence that these 7 or 8 women had on where we are now. And then we hope to actually do a deeper dive on each of them in coming episodes.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
All right.
Let's do it. Favorite thing?
NWSL is back.
We didn't forget it this week.
We didn't.
We got it.
Our favorite thing is that we actually got in a favorite thing without forgetting it. For me, it was, we had soccer on all weekend. It was really fun. I think the notes I wrote down were fire, fans, and flair. Fire mostly from the perspective of like, you could tell the players were like excited to be back on the pitch. Fans, we're going to talk about the attendance that happened at these games. But fans were pumped up. You could tell people were interested. I'd be interested to see viewership numbers too, given that the NWSL has like a stronger sort of broadcast media rights network than like the PWHL, for instance, which is also in season right now. And then flair, there were some really awesome goals. There were some really awesome saves. There was some it was amazing.
There was a lot of goal scoring.
So happy to see
those games. I mean, my favorite thing was going to be on NWSL too. I think it was really fun to watch Sophia Wilson come back and get in off the bench.
Gigi's mom.
Yeah, and that was what my favorite thing was, is that they kept calling her Gigi's mom. But like Gigi's mom's playing now. Like
Gigi's mom's in.
So I thought that was really fun.
I love it. It's so, and we're going to talk a little later about kind of what the season looked like just after the first weekend and some of the stuff that we're excited as the season goes on. But NWSL is back, baby. Back.
All right. Should we dive into these headlines?
Let's hit them. And just so viewers are clear, we're skipping over some of the things that we'll end up talking about in deeper depth after we get through top headlines.
Right. PWHL lands national broadcast on ION of the March 28th takeover tour game between New York Sirens and Montreal Victoire in Detroit, Michigan.
We're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but just the momentum here since the Olympics has been off the charts.
Yep. We're going to talk about Detroit later too in our PWHL
We sure
segment. are. ESPN reports a record 3.9 billion minutes of NCAA women's basketball viewed this season, making it the most viewed season in almost 20 years.
And another fun fact from that was that there were 20 games with over 500,000 average viewers too, which was a record for women's college basketball.
Denver Summit announces over 50,000 tickets have been sold for March 28th home opener.
So the fans don't stop there. So Empower Field at Mile High Stadium in Denver, I think has a seating capacity of about 76,000.
Oh.
And now they're like, can we fill it?
Can we fill it? Can we get it?
Can we fill it?
That would be amazing.
We will see. We're about two weeks away. There. So we'll keep our eyes on that.
In U.S. Women's National Team Soccer abroad, Alyssa Thompson wins Leagues Cup with Chelsea. Lindsay Heaps and Lily Johannes lift French Cup with Olympique Lyonnais.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So national team stars pulling abroad. I've got to add one other thing here. I think it was a late ad from me, but in addition to pulling trophies, U.S. national team stars who are abroad are pulling bags because Katarina Macario,
that's right,
forward for the U.S. women's national team, just signed an $8 million 5-year contract with the NWSL's San Diego Wave today, making her now the highest paid women's footballer in the world.
Yeah.
So what's great about this, and we'll talk about it, is as these deals keep getting bigger, these teams have to keep competing
they have to keep
for
up.
The talent, right? And so Trinity's deal that we talked a lot about now raises the stock of other players like Macario, like others who are coming back. So super exciting news. We knew that Kat was looking to find kind of her home and knew that it was likely she'd come back home. I'm really excited to see her land.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
NWSL.
World number 1 Arina Sabalenka outlasts number 2 Elena Rybakina to capture elusive Indian Wells Championship, her second title of 2026 and 10th WTA 1000 trophy.
Oh, yeah.
Oksana Masters earns 4 gold medals and 1 bronze at 2026 Paralympic Games, adding to her impressive 24 total Paralympic medals. I wish we could go into her whole backstory that you were telling me earlier this week.
Yeah,
it's just wild.
We're not going to, but if you have a chance to go learn about her story, do it. It's both heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. But she is got to be for sure the best Paralympian Olympian ever, if not one of the top medal earners of all athletes, right? What's interesting, just kind of doing a little bit of a wrap up on the Paralympics, if we go back to Oksana Masters, 14 of her 24 total medals are gold, by the way. So over half of her medals are gold medals. She's, hands down the most decorated U.S. Paralympian. She would have ranked 6th amongst countries.
Oh, wow.
In this last Olympics for gold medals.
That's wild.
Yes. And then just rounding it out, a little overview on the overall Paralympic kind of medal totals. So China, I was looking this up, and China stomped the competition. They had 44 medals. 15 of those were gold. The U.S. was a distant but solid second with 24 medals, 13 of which were gold. So proportionately, the Americans did better from a gold medal perspective. But China
they really ran away with it.
From a medal perspective. So
all right. Team USA has dominated competition so far in the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifiers in Puerto Rico, going 4-0 with 1 game to go.
Yeah, I think by the time you hear this episode, they'll have played Spain, which is one of the other highest ranked team in their pool. So I'm interested to see how that goes tomorrow. It's been kind of embarrassing. They're averaging 98 points per game and winning by an average of 49 points per game. Yeah. So it's hard to say, assess their play and whatnot. They're obviously much better than their competition. And I mean, you look across the lineup and you're like,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like I saw a post online over the weekend of just a picture of Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Angel Reese getting ready to check into the game. And it was like,
imagine being on the bench.
You look over and you see this trio about to check into the game while you're playing, you're playing Chelsea Gray, Ryan Howard, and, Derica Hamby, right?
Maybe we'll get a break.
You can't, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So, a bunch of the players are leading in some of the statistics there, but I think they've more or less, they're the team to beat come World Cup time in September.
100%. NCAA Women's Ice Hockey Frozen Four is set to feature Ohio State versus Northeastern and Wisconsin versus Penn State on Friday evening. And Northeastern upset the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
A little shocking.
Yeah, very shocking there.
I predict that we are going to see a WCHA championship rematch for the national title between Wisconsin and Ohio State. That's my prediction.
I think Penn State's the dark horse.
I do think Penn State's the dark horse because they are playing kind of a home.
They're playing it's almost like a home series for them.
And I also want to call out that Alex talked about them like 5 episodes ago and was like,
they're sneaky in fourth place.
Sneaky in fourth place because they're not in the main conference with all the ranked teams, the WCHA. So I agree.
Yeah.
But I still think the Badgers are probably pissed that they lost to OSU.
Yep.
And they're going to take care of business against
100%.
So
college gymnastics heads into conference tournament weekend with 4 teams from the SEC ranked in the top 5 nationally, with UCLA sitting in 5th.
Okay, so 2 incredible performances here. Like if you have the means to go watch these meets, we'll talk about them and what to watch, but conference meets are this coming weekend. Do it. So first, we've talked about her on the pod many times, Jordan Childs, US Olympian, right? She entered her final weekend. So this is before she posted any scores in her final meet, right? Averaging 9.92 across all disciplines.
That's out of 10.
That's out of 10. With 6 10s and 5 9.975s on the season. That's crazy.
Is that a record?
It's got to be close. But if that's it, so UCLA is in the Big Ten. The other top 4 teams in the top 5 ranked teams are in the SEC. Yep. So if you want to go watch one tournament, I would go watch the SEC tournament. I saw that over the weekend, LSU's Kaylin Chiao, I think, posted, she did 3 events. She posted 10s on all 3 in one meet.
Holy smokes.
And I saw her a couple weekends ago score a 10 on beam. She's like, it's unreal.
That's crazy.
It's so good. So you get a chance to watch. I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves and what to watch, but I'm excited. It's like end of season time for college. You're getting to playoff pushes and whatever.
Yeah, we have a ton of kind of end of season things happening right away here.
Right.
Sephora announced as top sponsor for F1 Academy, the women's racing circuit.
Yeah, so this is cool. This adds to their partnership portfolio, already containing Unrivaled. We saw a lot of Sephora. We watched Unrivaled. The WNBA's Toronto Tempo and the Golden State Valkyries are also teams that Sephora sponsors, as well as Athletes Unlimited Softball League. So I think it's cool to continue to see these sponsorship or these brands, build sponsorship, and like women's sports fans, it's agnostic across sport, right? Yep. They know that there's reach across many, many disciplines.
Absolutely.
So, love to see it.
All right. Before we start this WNBA CBA update, I think we have to let out a long sigh. Because what is happening?
Oh, well, we're going to get into it. Okay. Nothing is, or a lot. But no outcome. Result. So we're gonna ground ourselves just in a little bit of an update on the last 2 weeks. We chose not to go deep on this last week because we thought maybe there'd be a deal. Silly us.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, the Unrivaled playoffs were happening. Right? There was the semifinals on Monday, the final on Wednesday, and in the midst of that, you have players from the executive committee for the Players Association playing in that tournament, right? You've got Breanna Stewart, you've got Kelsey Plum, you've got Nafisa Collier,
there,
right? Who's there. And we're in the middle of Unrivaled. It's super fun. It happens to be that Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart's team end up playing for the championship. And the day before the championship, a letter that the two of them apparently authored together is leaked, saying that they have serious concerns with how the union leadership is handling the negotiations. They want to see they feel like it hasn't been transparent. This came a week after we had a letter sent by players' agents to the union saying you're not being transparent, blah, blah, blah. And so all of a sudden you're like, wait, what is this? Here, right. And then this followed on the heels of, or what followed on the heels of that letter, first of all, which was leaked. So it was reported initially like this was like a public letter. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, it wasn't. No one was supposed to see that. Which then makes you also wonder, like, what was the point? And the other part of that that's really strange is Stewie and KP are on the executive committee. So I've read a quote from someone, I forget the attribution, I apologize, but there was somebody who was saying from kind of the union like leadership, not the players side, but like the union leadership saying this kind of feels a little bit like players who maybe haven't been super engaged. They've just kind of been like along for the ride. And now they're like trying to play catch up and they're panicking. And I was like, I could see that. They were playing in Unrivaled. For the most part, the rest of the executive committee from the player representation side are not playing in Unrivaled. Fee's obviously involved as an owner, but and player. So who knows? But then what was weird was the union then reissued a poll immediately after this letter asking if players were okay with what the league was proposing from a revenue share perspective. What was extra weird was that they phrased it as, are you okay with 50% of net revenues? The league has been offering 70%. So first of all, very strange. And then it was like a flow down, kind of like if you choose yes on that top question or no, you're going to get a different set of questions. And then it was kind of like, asking things like, okay, if you are okay with that, are there other things that you're concerned about? If you're not okay with that, what amount do you want? Like things like that. So like, and I read a couple quotes from players. They were like, it was fine. Like I get it. And I think what they were trying to get at was, is there concern and do we want to keep going? Right? Are we truly like, oh yeah, we're good. What do we quoted Kelsey Plum as being like, I'm about the gain, not the gap. Like, are we really there? Right? Turns out most of the players were like, no, keep going. Who voted? And you got to vote if you want to participate. So like, if you didn't vote, that's on you. So then we get to this arbitrary March 10th deadline last month.
Sunday? Tuesday,
Then begins the marathon negotiation sessions. And we're going to talk about this a little more in a second, but like, why are we only starting this now?
Well, and when I was prepping for this, I was like, wasn't there like 6 weeks where the league was just like,
yes,
we're not going to propose anything because we're not taking you seriously.
Yes.
And now they're like, well, we have to get this done now.
Yeah. I want to come back to that. I want to keep framing here a little bit. So primary hangups continue to be revenue sharing and housing. Those are the two main ones. They've worked out a couple other kinks in the agreements on some other details, but like those two. Consistently over the last week, you kind of heard both sides saying like, we're getting closer.
It's feeling like it's getting close.
But it has been over 72 hours of meetings.
Many going into like early morning.
14, 15, 16 hour days. Over 16 offers have been passed back and forth in this time that I know of. Right? That's been reported last. So latest terms, and we're going to lay these out and then we're going to talk a little bit about this, right? The league is still offering 70% of net revenues from a revenue share perspective. They have not moved on that figure. And we're going to talk about that.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Salary cap for year one, $6.2 million. This will raise over the course of the agreement, which is estimated to be about an 8-year deal, which is also important. Average salary, $570K, rising to about $800K over the 8-year term. And the max salary of $1.3 million, rising to about $2 million over the 8-year term. Okay, so they put a lot of detail in there around the numbers. The union is asking for now roughly 26% of gross revenue. I actually think it's come down even more. I think it's 24 25 now.
Around that.
With a salary cap of $9.5 million, or maybe a little bit less than that. So you've got, $3 million delta between the two salary caps. And then housing is really big for the union.
Yeah.
You'll notice that the union actually does not stipulate and has not stipulated this entire time max salaries or average salaries.
Yeah.
Because what they want is they want the salary cap to be high enough to make it so that you can then work those details in, right? And it would be appropriate.
Yeah.
So the two questions we have that we're going to discuss: why did it take so long for the league to be have a sense of urgency around this?
All of a sudden it needs to happen now.
And then the second question we're going to discuss is, why are they so insistent on the 70% of net revenues? That has seemed that's befuddled us the entire time, because they've conceded on a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
And the union has conceded on every single one of their things.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? They were at 40% of gross revenues when this began, believe it or not.
Yep. I thought that was 30 when they started, and then I was looking back, I was like, oh no, it was 40.
Right. And so let's get into it, because I'm really excited to have this discussion. So let's talk about the urgency piece first. They're pressing for this handshake deal today. Basically, Kathy Engelbert last Friday, the commissioner of the WNBA, was like, if we don't have a deal by Monday,
things are going to get
probably going to get pushed, right? And it's like, okay, Alex mentioned this already, but there was a period of time back at the end of 2025 where the union put forth an offer that the W sat on for 6 weeks and didn't respond to, didn't respond at all, right?
Yeah.
And then they finally had that meeting. I think it was early February at some point in there. And they showed up with nothing in hand.
Yeah, because they didn't think it was the first offer was serious.
Well, I don't think they thought any of it was serious.
I think what I really am thinking is I think they thought if they just sat on things for a while, that the players would eventually capitulate or something.
Yes.
But they didn't realize that it would also possibly hurt them in the long run too.
Yes. So I have this really great quote. This was reported by Jessica Powell, who has become one of our gurus of watching the news on this. She's one of the
Jackie Powell.
Oh, Jackie Powell, excuse me. Camped out outside headquarters.
Her and Alexa Philippou from ESPN is also there.
Jackie Powell is the host of the 9 Sports podcast. She's written for women's basketball for a variety of sports outlets, but she said that the Players Association's outside counsel, Deb Willig, who's done union labor negotiations for 50 years, she said that this has been a highly unusual negotiation, was the word she used. And the quote goes like this, y'all. I think the why it's unusual, right, frankly, is because the league underestimated seriously the resolve of the players and what they sought to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. And I was like, I think they did. Yeah. I really think they did.
I think they did too. And to add to that, I've seen a few interviews of I saw one of a lawyer who kind of broke down some of the the contracting pieces of this. But there's been some other, pundit social media heads saying that 8-year time frame is actually really critical in this. And you've been talking about this and saying like, could we cut a short, maybe a smaller deal and like, see how it goes? But that 8 years is huge when it comes to these negotiations. Because these women right now are now negotiating contracts for young women who are currently in high school. Right. One of the big sticking points was rookie contracts and how those are structured and things like that. Because rookies get paid jack in the WNBA. The other thing that's really important is they are looking to the monumental CBA and pay equity deals signed by the U.S. Women's National Team and the NWSL. And they're saying, we've got to continue that charge for women's sports as a whole. Right. The third thing that is mind-blowing to me is we've talked to y'all before about how the WNBA's ownership group is comprised of 42% NBA owners, 42% WNBA owners, and 16% of an outside investment, which sometimes, y'all, they are sitting in all three of those chairs. There could be one owner that is an owner of an NBA team and a WNBA team and is part of this private equity capital raise that they had to do back in 2022. And so I just saw today that the NBA is planning to announce, the NBA now is planning to announce 2 expansion teams.
I saw that.
The buy-in bid for those teams, $7 to $10 billion. Each. So you cannot tell me that these people are not raking in the dough.
100%.
And so for the players to stand on business, as they like to say, 10 toes down and say, pay us what you owe us, feels very legit now.
And we go back to when we started talking about all this. They're seeing the growth. And the thing they want to protect against the most, besides obviously these extremely rich people who are sitting in all three of those, whatever, that's a big point of it. But like they're seeing this explosive growth. They don't want to be left behind and saying like, we could double our attendance next year and see no extra money from that if we go with what the WNBA is proposing here.
Exactly. One other thing that I learned that was really interesting is we talked last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, about how revenue share was finally unlocked under the old CBA rules. And if you remember, maybe you don't, but it was very complicated to unlock revenue sharing. But a big part of unlocking that revenue share was the fact that you had this like compounding revenue amount that you had
like a
to
requirement
achieve.
Every year.
But it had to be a multiplier basically on top, not a multiplier, but like you had to show this growth over like multiple years to unlock it. Okay. They unlocked revenue sharing, which means that they had to have shown the growth over multiple years. Okay. The curveball that I learned about or that I realized to put together is that COVID crushed the growth trajectory that the league was on. But so they went way negative. But that means that every year since COVID, they have crushed their revenue target because they've had to be able to show over that time block a certain amount of revenue increase each year. And so the players, again, 10 toes down, ladies, you can do it.
Yes, absolutely.
And we actually have found and we have uncovered evidence that this is true because there was a huge hole created by COVID. And in order to dig out of that hole, they had to have repeated years of growth, of over 20% growth, mind you, based on how that was structured, in order to unlock the revenue share that they finally unlocked last year. So it's likely that had COVID not happened, that revenue share actually would have gotten unlocked
a couple years ago.
Yeah, maybe in 2021. Right. So
that
10 toes down.
That's I didn't even think about that, how that would have compressed that, and then
it hit me in the head today.
Which means their last year numbers had to be massive in order for that to happen. I really want to talk about, we had a drive to your parents and a drive back about an hour. where we discussed this the entire time.
Yeah.
And we tried to give a lot of like, let's consider the league as having positive intent here of some sort. Why are they so stuck on net revenue?
We really tried.
We tried to give the benefit of the doubt so many times. And what we really came down to is it's about control. Mm-hmm. They get to control the definition of that number. And they get to say, oh yeah, we had all these expenses. Oh, and there's some miscellaneous stuff over here we had to pay for, which could have been this, or we're paying double the rent an NBA team might be playing. It's a made up number. Don't quote me on that. But because these team owners sit in the arena ownership sometimes and things like that, like you said, there's all these little expenses that they can kind of pull levers on and totally skew that net revenue number versus the gross is just always the gross.
Right.
And it's just all about control, essentially, is what we came up with.
Right. I think you said like the players are basically saying, we get to the revenue, the gross revenue number, and you're going to pay us first.
Yep.
Right. Before you go down the line. And the league is saying, you're an expense.
Yeah. Yep.
And like, I am a business operator in my day job. I run a P&L, like that is part of what I do for work. So I understand how this works, but I even ran through an example with Alex of like what my P&L looks like. Now it's different. I work in a different industry. But the only thing that we could really come up with is there's some cushion that's created by not letting them in on gross revenue. And again, we now know, like, you cannot tell me that they are not generating growth on the top line. Yeah. So if, depending on how you're managing your business really poorly, if your expenses are continuing to outstrip significant growth, like that, you should get fired.
Yeah.
Like anybody else would get fired if your expenses were exceeding and you were walking away where you're worried about protecting them.
Yeah.
So I find it like just really fascinating that they are just so fixated on that. And I do think that the moment they concede, the other thing that we've talked about too is like, why not so there's been calculations done that the 70% on net is about 15% on gross.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why not concede so that it's more than 15% on gross, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I talk myself out of that argument because of what I just said. Like, I think players should be looked at. They do it in the NBA. It's called basketball related income. Like that gets distributed across the players before the owners take their cut, right? Because they're the product.
Yeah.
You don't have the revenue.
Yeah, you don't have it if you don't have them.
The players. So we just want to see a deal.
Yeah. I going back to the conversation we had this weekend, it was so ridiculous to me that every time we tried to give benefit of the doubt, it just came back to like, this is just about control and it's about
power.
How can they continue to hold on power? I think what they have to be careful for, there was a small blip in the research that I looked at that said, I think in the 70s, maybe it was the 70s or early 2000s, there was at some point where the NBA actually had to open up their book to a third party.
Oh, it was an audit.
They
got audited by like the FCC or SEC, excuse me.
And
FCC.
So
wrong one.
You would think that the WNBA might be worried about that, but on the other side, I could see where they're like, we're a business. We're going to wait until the audit comes until we have to change what we're doing, right? Like get as much as we can out of it now, and then we'll go from there.
Right. Yeah. As we've said, and as I think we've seen a lot of players say too, like if you open the books and we are completely wrong, we're willing to own that.
Yeah.
So anyways, we'll see potentially, and we've said this before on this podcast, but by the time you hear this, there is a CBA.
There might be a deal.
We just don't know.
All right. Should we move on from that?
Yes.
Maybe won't be talking CBA much longer. I said that last week too, I think. I don't know. All right. Let's get to your favorite.
Ayo.
NWSL opening weekend is back.
All right. We promised we're not going to do this every week, but I am going to run through kind of the results from the weekend.
Yeah.
It's exciting, sets the stage. We can talk about some of our favorite games or plays or whatever. So what's really cool is we had competitive games across the whole weekend. So all but one game was a 1-goal game.
Yep.
We started on Friday night, season opener between the Portland Thorns and the Washington Spirit, two of the marquee clubs in the NWSL. The Thorns upset the Spirit at home, 1-0 behind Olivia Moultrie's goal, which was beautiful. I saw a video of Abby Wambach, former U.S. Women's National Team legend, and she was like, that touch. First touch that Moultrie had before she scored. And these are the things that I love to nerd out about. So thank you, Abby, for pointing out the touch because it was incredible. Boston Legacy, one of our new expansion teams, lost in their home opener to defending champs Gotham FC. Goal scored by Esther Gonzalez of the Spanish national team. She is also coming off of parental leave.
Oh, amazing.
And actually, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Bay FC beats debutantes Denver Summit 2-1 in San Francisco. Worth noting that both Boston and Denver had players sent off on reds in inaugural games. So the fact that they both only lost by one is actually
passionate.
Pretty passionate. Fire?
Yeah, you said fire.
Yes. Kansas City Current looked strong in a 2-1 win over Utah. Goals from their recent signings of Croy Bethune and Ali Sentnor. Who we've gushed about on this before.
Last week or 2 weeks ago.
North Carolina Courage top racing Louisville 2-1 behind a brace from Ashley Sanchez, a name we have not talked about much or heard about much lately. She used to be in the national team rotation.
I think my original note on this was question mark. And who is this?
She's got a little bit of flair. She actually had, you can go look it up. She had like a really cool, like lobbed shot goal that just beat the keeper over the fingertips right under the crossbar. I don't know if she meant to do it, but you just count it. It's like a bank shot in basketball. San Diego Wave drops their home opener 1-0 to the Houston Dash. They will love having Kat McCartney join their ranks because they are very depleted, folks. They lost a lot of people in the
season. They were kind of depleted last year, weren't they? A little bit.
They're struggling. But they did have Ludmila, right, join their ranks. And we saw one of the most epic saves by Jane Campbell of the Houston Dash on Ludmila. It was unreal.
I remember Ludmila was like walking away
she just Campbell just like shot a hand out and you didn't think she was going to get there. So that was pretty cool to see. Barbara Banda returns from the short-term injury list and she scored a goal. But it was not enough for Orlando to top the Seattle Reign, who won 2-1. And then wrapping out the weekend, Angel City FC nets goals from 4 different players in a 4-0 shutout victory over the Chicago Red Stars. And so one of my favorite players, y'all, is Alyssa Nair. She's the goalkeeper.
She was not happy. She was. Stars. I saw this video.
Did you see the video where she just got hands on hips? I think it's only 2-0 at this point, but we watched the beginning of that. And she had faced so many shots already. And the caption was like, so her nickname is Uncle.
Oh, yeah.
And so the caption was like, Uncle about to go hang up the boots.
Unc's not happy about this one.
Ready to go. So as you can tell, really fun. We watched a lot of soccer over the weekend. It was good to have it back. But we've got some highlights, I think, we've got to talk about as far as attendance goes. Summing it up at the top, they just released the overall attendance numbers of what was reported. 129,000 people went to across these opening matches, which is about an average of 16,000 fans per game.
It's pretty good.
Over the last 3 seasons, we'll remind you, they've averaged about 10,000 fans per game. So little over their average as of right now. Some of these just notable ones, 19,000 at the Spirit home opener on Friday. Actually, the only game that was below 10,000 from a attendance perspective was North Carolina Courage, but that was a capacity crowd for the venue.
Yep.
So that was almost 8,200.
Yep.
And then Boston Legacy plays in Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play.
Yep.
They had 30,000 plus
Wild.
at their home opener. And then we've obviously talked about how
Denver's selling a ton.
Selling a ton. So that is super cool to see. It'll be really interesting. I feel like overall, this is the sense I get. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Women's sports writ large, I feel like right now is just like having a moment.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because we pay a lot of attention to it because of this podcast.
We are, women's sports podcast.
But I also find that women's fans of women's things often are like competitive about these kind of things.
Oh,
I feel like
totally.
The fans like will want to keep this like, we're setting records, we're breaking records going.
I think people are flying into Denver to be a part of the record-setting crowd. Like
I read an article that they traveled. There were like more Denver fans in San Francisco for this
amazing
the season opener for them. Than Bay FC fans.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, yes, super exciting. So also interesting, ahead of opening weekend, NWSL unveiled brand new headquarters in New York City. And then I mentioned this before, but I have to point it out. 26 new moms are returning to play in the league this season. So these are either, birthing partners or partners who were on parental leave or their partners having kids. What's really cool about this, I was reading some of the updates and we're going to talk about some of the rule changes soon, but in 2025, the NWSL had written into their players' rules, they would either get a childcare stipend or they could have expenses covered for a caretaker to come and their kids to travel with them. Let me be clear. It was one kid. You could have one of your children come with.
Who's your favorite?
5 and under. Now, this has expanded. So in 2026, players can now access both benefits. So they get a stipend for childcare and they can also have a caretaker come with their children, all, if they want, up to 14.
Yeah, wow.
And I think that is such an awesome thing to see, especially as you see all of these new moms coming back to play. I mean, this was like unfathomable as an option. When I was growing up or what have you, right? Like it's insane, that these women are so incredible that they are even coming back. Like, seeing Soph on the field, Gigi's mom, on the field.
How many months after? Like not even that many, right?
She had Gigi in 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months postpartum. I could talk a lot about what happens to the body, right?
Yes.
I assume many of our listeners are also maybe women and probably have kids, maybe, so they know. The fact that they're coming back, like, women are amazing.
Yeah. 100%.
And then you also like layer in the fact that you have so many of them who have partners who do want to start families. Maybe they're not going to be the birthing partner, but like they're allowed to have that time and have that support and have their kids with them. It's incredible. So.
I mean, I was sitting there thinking, you're a player in the WNBA, and you're looking at what the NWSL has, and they've been around half as long. You're like, we want that. We want it to be just like that. Like, and I hope people like the PWHL are also taking notes. Like, this is what we need to strive for in the future. Yeah,
I do think, and I think they had some interviews with NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman over the weekend, and I do think she was just re-signed to a 3-year deal last fall, and so I think she really aims for wanting to be that precedent-setting league, not only in football but across sports.
Yeah.
And frankly, right now, I think they have the right formula to be doing that.
This is maybe a hot take. It feels like she is someone who wants to see soccer grow, whereas Kathy Engelbert is potentially in it for the money. Mm-hmm. Yep. I disagree on that.
Yep. All right. So one thing that we're going to be looking out for are some of the rule changes that have been announced. And we're talking in-game rules. We're not going to talk about how their CBA adjusts this year or anything like that right now. We've had enough of CBAs, to be honest. So one really big one that's coming out that's effective immediately in this season is this concept called goalkeeper timeouts.
Yeah.
Essentially when goalkeepers get hurt because they are a unique position, right? And you can't restart play without the goalkeeper in the game.
Yep.
They have essentially started to function as timeouts.
Yeah.
And so there's a rule now where the teams are not allowed to congregate by the touch line, the technical area with their teams while a goalkeeper is hurt.
Yep.
They are allowed to gather together on the field, but they have to stay in the middle of the field on their side of the half.
Okay.
And so this is just one way, and I'm gonna go into some of the changes that'll go into effect in July ahead of the Men's World Cup to mitigate time wasting, which is not as big of an issue in the women's game as it is in the men's game.
The men's game, it's like
insane.
80 minutes plus, the goalkeeper's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a given.
Yes. If you get like tapped, you're falling down type of thing. And so they're really trying to emphasize, and I know as a coach, talking with some of my other coach friends, like they're really excited about these changes, even to trickle down to the high school level, the youth level, competitive, obviously. So a couple of those other changes so the goal here, first of all, let's zoom out, is for us to watch more soccer, right? For us to be able to see more football happening and to take out some of the gamesmanship that happens. Now, you can make the argument that like sometimes that's what makes it fun. But if you have ever watched a soccer match and like there's so many stoppages because players are just flopping for injury or they're, whatever, it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
So starting on July 1st, on throw-ins and on goal kicks, there's a 5-second countdown. So what that means is as soon as the ball goes out of bounds, you have 5 seconds to get that ball back into play, or it's a turnover. And so on a throw, that would mean that the other team gets to throw the ball in. On a goal kick,
becomes
a corner kick.
Ooh.
So goalkeepers are also, speaking as one, right, notorious for kind of killing time. I'm going to adjust my shin guards, right? Let me restrap my gloves. Like, you can't do that.
I'm assuming this is kind of like they do in basketball where the referees are given like a visual signal of
they're
the time.
Supposed to.
Okay.
Yes. And I think we'll see that more as we watch, because there's some other rules around, like when a goalie makes a save, they have, I think it's 8 seconds to get the ball off their hands.
Yeah.
Right. Another one that's going to change: substitutes must leave the pitch within 10 seconds. If they take longer, the player coming in for the substituted player cannot enter the game until the first stoppage of play after a minute has passed. So if you've also watched soccer, you know that it can take a while for the ball to go out of bounds. And so it really impresses upon these players, right, to get off the field.
I like this one because you always, we go back to like the men's game kind of, they take their sweet time.
Clap
longest route, clap to all the other players on the other team as I go off to.
Exactly.
And
like keep the game moving. All right. Another one here: when play is stopped for injury assessment on an outfield player, so not a goalkeeper, the injured player must leave and remain off the pitch for at least 1 minute once play restarts. So that helps us kind of make sure that players aren't just going down.
Yeah, going
for
down
no
to
reason.
go down.
And then the final one here is VAR, which is
video assisted referee.
Thank you. Can now check incorrect yellows, reds, yellows, cards given to the wrong player, and wrong corner decisions.
Interesting.
I think that's great. I think expanding the use of that is helpful, because I do think there are some critical things. I mean, if you think about a wrong card, like that's one person has to adjust their play significantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Or could get kicked out of the game. Yeah. Right. So it'll be interesting to watch how these impact the game. again, as we're viewers of both men's and women's soccer, I don't think we're going to notice it as much on the women's side as we do on the men's. But
have they started because I thought I heard in one game that one of the announcers said the ref was going to start the countdown.
That was on the goalkeeper.
Okay.
On a save. Okay. So that is a rule that's already in effect. That they're supposed to visually show to the goalkeeper that they are counting.
Yeah.
So the goalkeeper doesn't hold on to the ball for too long. All right. Wrapping up our NWSL segment here. We're going to talk about the momentum.
Yeah, the momentum. This was kind of my big thing this week, is just seeing all of, like we talked about earlier, all of the games that we're seeing, 30,000 in Boston. We have the 50,000 in Denver. We had no game under 10,000. It is just, it's kind of crazy seeing all of this energy, especially in a game, I think, that Americans haven't really hooked onto until I think recently.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing here is it really feels like the NWSL did their homework, kind of like how we talked about with the PWHL is doing this takeover series. They've really done their homework and found the right cities to break into. And I think it's their homework, like the work they've put into that has really shown.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we already know about some of their expansion plans, right? Adding Denver and Boston this year brings them to 16 teams, but they've got plans to add the team in Atlanta starting in 2028. It's everything I'm reading. It's very likely that they're going to be announcing that Columbus is also going to be part of 2028. Something else that I read today is that they've moved to an ongoing assessment approach to expansion. So there's not a window people have to fall into to apply. They'll just assess. And Jessica Berman, again, the commissioner of the NWSL, was quoted as saying, "We've got dozens of people who are interested right now."
Oh.
And I'm like, must be nice to be able to choose.
Yeah.
But yeah, Columbus consistently, I think you said they seem to always host national team games. And I want to go back to our history of the NWSL last week. And we talked about how a lot of the league's success to this point came from two things as it started. It was the MLS affiliation.
Yep.
So again, having that infrastructure, potentially having some, shared expenses and things like that, right? And then it was the subsidies from the federations, which they don't do that anymore. But the Columbus and Atlanta both have men's teams currently. And so it got me looking where are there men's teams where there aren't women's teams? And I was like, Philly. I think Philly is a great sports town. I think they're looking at probably bringing a WNBA team there in the next couple years too. Nashville, I could see. And then I put Canada ? Because there are quite a few men's teams in Canada, but we don't have any Canadian NWSL teams now.
You could be tapping a whole nother market
now.
there.
What's interesting about that is Canada has their own women's soccer league. Do they merge?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
That could be something worth exploring. And does it become this broader entity?
Yeah.
We've got the PWHL, the WNBA, men's leagues on both sides, MLB, all of them.
Yeah.
They're all inclusive of Canada.
Yeah.
And so I think it could be an interesting thing to explore.
When you said Canada ? I was like, does she mean Minnesota? Because we're pretty close to Canada.
I would love for Minnesota to be in the mix. And I think we are. I think we are probably one of those dozen, right? But I feel unless somebody is about to fork over, what's the buy-in fee now? 165 million, right? Was for the Atlanta team. So I don't know who's doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe A-Rod.
A-Rod might, maybe.
Yeah. One other thing I want to point out is I was reading about the momentum here and sort of the timing of all of this. And Jessica Berman, again, re-signed to her contract. She really sees 2026 as a really pivotal moment for the NWSL. And here's why. So we've talked in past episodes about how the NWSL in particular gained momentum after World Cups, right? 2015, 2019, when the U.S. women's national team won. We've also talked about how Olympics create momentum. And we've talked about how women's sports fans are kind of agnostic. They just like supporting women. And we're feeling that right now. Let me run this down for you. In 2027, we have the Women's World Cup in Brazil. In 2028, we have the Olympics in LA. So the NWSL has to be looking at that going, oh, we are going to have the world's eyes on us for soccer. Right. We also talked about how the women's field is expanding in that Olympics to 16 teams while the men's side contracts. Right. And then you look way out ahead. Still in 2028, they will renegotiate their media rights broadcast deal. So that the one that they're under right now will expire, $240 million for 6 years or whatever it was. And then in 2031, do you know who's hosting the FIFA Women's World Cup?
Are we?
The United States.
Hey.
With Mexico. And so I think she's looking at that time horizon and saying, what a time to be alive. And we can capitalize on these periods of momentum from these other tournaments that are going to happen in those timeframes.
I was also wondering I think there's probably a little bit to be said too about the women's Olympic hockey team.
100%.
And that momentum
100%
coming straight out of the Olympics right into the NWSL season. Like, well, hockey's half over. What are some other things we can get into for the summer? And like, here we are with NWSL.
Yes. I think you're going to continue to see like that cycle. So exciting.
Yes. Very exciting.
So much going on. We'll keep watching.
We got a quick hit here on some PWHL standings and some games to watch. I think we're going to kind of level set here on what the standings are right now. We have Boston, Minnesota. This is in order: Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, New York, Vancouver, and Seattle. We recently just the other day had Minnesota pull into second place, tied with Montreal. I think they have
tiebreak on
the tiebreak. We have a tiebreak on them, actually.
Oh, okay.
We're in second place.
Oh, fun.
So the top four teams there that I just called out, we have Boston at 39 points, Minnesota at 36, Montreal at 36, and Ottawa at 28. And while we have those really good teams at the top there, I think the most interesting storyline here is at 4, 5, and 6.
Totally.
Because you have Ottawa at 28, Toronto at 28, and New York at 27. And they're all right around the same amount of games played. So there's going to be this kind of push from all of them. Every single game for them is going to matter. Boston, Minnesota, Montreal, they're kind of okay. They don't want to lose a lot of games, but these 4, 5, and 6 teams are going to be pushing hard to take that 4 spot. Sorry, I'll remind top 4 teams get into the playoffs.
Yes.
And so that's why this is going to be a big push.
Yeah, I think so too. And another thing to add and remind our listeners about is the golden draft rule in the PWHL.
Yep, that was my next. Yep.
Sorry.
You
steal your thunder.
No, you got the thunder.
And so that makes everyone competitive.
Yeah.
And if we know a little bit about who's coming out in this next draft, you're talking Caroline Harvey from Wisconsin, Olympics MVP, right?
Yep.
You're talking Abby Murphy from Minnesota. And so you've got a slew of teams at the bottom there that are wanting to compete because the golden draft rule requires that you continue to win games in order to increase your positioning in the draft, which is a really cool mechanism and keeps teams from tanking.
Basically, as soon as you are mathematically eliminated, you start gaining points for wins.
Right.
And the more you get, the higher your draft order is, or you can actually outright win the first draft spot.
Yeah. So that is going to make that end of season push really intense. Every game matters, it feels like.
If you're in Ottawa playing Seattle, who's eliminated, that game's not in hand anymore. You have to play all the way on that.
Plus, there's just pride.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like Seattle's had some of the best, like if we look at them, they've struggled mightily, I would say. But like they've had some of the best fans, the best showings for their team. Hillary Knight is part of that team. She's been injured since the Olympics. Alex Carpenter's on that team. Like, they have a whole host of players who like are now really well known because of the Olympics. And frankly, their roster names don't like translate into the results they've had, but they're going to be looking to like increase that stock.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. All right. I mean, so moving on out of the standings here, hey, let's talk expansion again, because why not? I think the biggest thing here is that we've talked in the past that the PWHL likely wants to add 2 teams, if not 4, all in one go. I think I saw a quote or a story that by 2030, 2031, they want to have 12 teams. 2 would put them at 10, 4 would put them at 12. And so I think what's really interesting is kind of that homework we talk about, the takeover tour that they are kind of using as market research. So we have 5 cities getting 2 stops this year. That's going to be Detroit, Denver, Chicago, Edmonton, and Halifax. And I want to talk about a couple of the teams, cities that I think are probably the top contenders for getting a team. So Detroit, which we talked about earlier, they had 14,000 fans last year, only 9K this year, but the infrastructure is there. Detroit is one of the most hockey towns.
So
you'll ever know. I think Regional 6 potentially in the NHL, like
the Red Wings.
Yeah.
I'll point out though too, like they had lower attendance at their first takeover tour game. Their second one is coming up, and we've already talked about it. It is the nationally televised game that's coming up on the 28th. And again, I think fans are
fans are going to try to.
They want that to be full. They want it to show well. So like, I expect that to, if they hit 14,000 last year when they played there, I expect it to exceed that as long as capacity is there.
Absolutely. The other city from the U.S. at least is Denver. Denver had 14,000 in attendance last year, 11,500 earlier this season, and just yesterday they had 15,500.
And that 11,500 was competing directly with the AFC Championship game at Mile High Stadium just down the road from Ball Arena.
So,
and it was bad weather because if you watch the football game, no one could see anything because of the snow.
And they still pulled. They still pulled.
Yes, so my point is they still pulled.
And like we talked about earlier, women's sports fans,
they just like sports.
They just like sports.
They like supporting women.
Denver Summit has sold 50,000 tickets to their NWSL game. So I think you look at that as a PWHL league and you just go, this has got to be one of our next spots. So
I think that's probably right.
The other thing that it has there is it's a nice solve for the Mountain Time Zone. You have a gap between Vancouver and Minnesota for your Central and West Coast. You can kind of slot someone in right there and have another time zone in the evenings.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Quickly, Canadian teams, if you're trying to add 4, you probably want to add a couple of Canadian teams just for that balance. The ones that are likely, Edmonton, Halifax, Quebec City, and Hamilton. Edmonton would also solve for that time slot, kind of that mountain time zone. But you have places like Halifax who have sold out games already. Quebec City who has sold out games already. And then Hamilton that has a new arena with no tenant. So they're wide open. They're looking for something. Yeah.
Interesting. And I also just saw today, not related to a new city, but there's some shuffling going on with the Ottawa Charge and the Sens. And they might actually go into kind of a building partnership because where the Charge play right now, there's going to be some renovations that are going to remove 2,000 seats.
We don't want to do that.
And so the Charge are like, hey, we regularly sell this place out. Like, we need to go somewhere with more. And I think the point is that Canadians are feral for hockey. I don't think that's a surprise. And so it would make sense that if they were going to expand and they were going to kind of make this pull for 4, right, that they're going to balance it with at least one Canadian team, if not 2. And then the other thing that I'll point out before we move on to our last point on PWHL is the timing of all of this, and actually segue into my point around broadcast deals. The 2034 Winter Olympics are in Salt Lake City,
Utah.
And so again, you have to imagine that these executives who are making these expansion decisions, making these media rights deal decisions, are looking at this going, how do we continue to build the momentum in the pipeline to like mutually benefit off of one another, right? And so I was really intrigued by the fact that we're getting our first national broadcast. I think it was because we lamented on this podcast when we first
they heard us. They heard us
about how there's no nationally televised PWHL. It's all local networks.
YouTube. You
can view it all for free on YouTube. But Canada has their shit together, and they because they're feral for hockey. And they nationally televise all of their PWHL games, right? And so I think it's an interesting move. And I was reading an interview with the guy from Script Sports, who's, that game is going to be on Ion. And he was kind of like, he was holding cards close to the vest, but he's kind of like, it's intriguing. And where the decision to do this national broadcast was made?
Milan.
In Milan. So they were looking at what was going on with the Olympics, and they said,
sounds like a good idea.
People want to watch this because everyone watches women's sports, right? So we're looking forward to that playoff push. We'll definitely keep our ear to the ground. I think it's around these next couple weeks where they typically announce those expansion
teams. I was
teams.
actually wondering. I didn't get that in my notes here.
So there could be some crazy news coming out of the PWHL here in the next few weeks.
That would be awesome. All right. Moving on to what to watch. What's that?
There's just so much.
Yeah.
There's just so much. I was laughing.
I thought I messed up. I was like, what did I do wrong?
There's just so many things.
All right. NCAA women's basketball tournament. March Madness.
Oh, man. We are, like we said, we're going to do some brackets.
Yep.
We'll put those up probably tomorrow. I listed out like some potential trap games. Honestly, as I was looking through the bracket, my thoughts are this. If you're in the pocket with the 4 and the 5 seed, so like I think 4 plays like 11 and 5 plays 12 or something like that, so maybe vice versa. I don't want to be in any of those pockets. They all looked horribly competitive. Like any two teams could come out of those two kind of branches of the bracket. Now, once you do that, whoever comes out of that, if the one advances, you end up playing the one. And so like you're not earning yourself any fun, but they all looked horrible. Duke's in one of those. UNC's in one of those. It's just, that's going to be really interesting to watch. And I think has the highest upset potential. Outside of that, like as I look at the bracket, like I don't think the 1 seeds are going to have an issue advancing to the Sweet 16. I'd be really shocked if any of them lost before they get into the Sweet 16 and potentially the Elite 8. That's when it starts to get really interesting for those teams. There are some 2 seeds, though, that I was like, Iowa and Michigan, frankly, the 2 like Big Ten 2 seeds, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. You guys could have some spoiler alerts written all over your bracket. So I think LSU will be fine. They're another 2. I think Vanderbilt will be fine. They're another 2. But that was something that stood out to me for sure. What I would love is to see there's a potential crash course between Vanderbilt with Michaela Blakes and Hannah Hidalgo with Notre Dame. In, I think, what would end up being the Sweet 16. And like, I think that they're just 2 of the top scorers in the game right now. Really, really good all around players. That'd be fun to watch. And then I do have to shout out our Minnesota Gophers are hosting around here this weekend. So they earned the 4 seed. I am scared for them. Because they have to play Green Bay. And Green Bay, I swear to goodness, y'all, I feel like for the last 4 years, I turn on this tournament and Green Bay is whooping somebody's rear end in the first round of the tournament. And it's the Gophers this time, and I'm just nervous.
Hopefully not. Not this time.
Hopefully not. So check out our brackets once we get them posted. We will check in on those week over week until the tournament's done.
We've got Wednesday and Thursday are the play-in games.
Okay.
And then we're hitting every weekend until like April 5th. So it just goes from there. Moving on, we have NCAA women's hockey Frozen Four semifinals like we discussed earlier. We'll just go through these kind of quickly here. Ohio State versus Northeastern Friday at 3 p.m. Wisconsin versus Penn State Friday at 6:30 p.m. And then the final on Sunday at 3 p.m. on ESPN+.
Nice. Real quick before we move on, we should mention that all of the women's college basketball games are on the ESPN suite of networks.
Yep. PWHL, my bias is going to seem like it's showing here. I've highlighted a couple of games over the next week. First one, Ottawa at Minnesota.
This is a big game.
Wednesday at 6 p.m. This is a bigger game for Ottawa than it is for Minnesota. It's still important for Minnesota, but Ottawa, like we said, is in that fourth spot right now. They need these points, and Minnesota needs to protect that home ice advantage throughout the playoffs.
Well, yeah, home ice advantage. What we should talk about too is if you do get to the 1 seed, you get to pick your opponent.
Yeah.
So like they're still playing for something.
They are. Minnesota at Vancouver on Saturday. You might think Vancouver, they're not very good. Could be a trap game. It's late in the season. You don't want to give up points.
Did you see the goal that Sarah Nurse scored over the weekend?
I did not.
She plays for the Golden Eyes, and go look her up. Look up Sarah Nurse, Vancouver Golden Eyes goal from the weekend. I don't even know what they call it in hockey anymore. Some kind of dangle.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Okay. We'll check it out. And then one more on Saturday at 3 p.m. Seattle at Boston. Another trap game potential, best versus the worst, but don't want to leave those points out there.
Love it.
All right, NWSL. Again, this is an all weekend affair. So
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Turn it on TV and they're going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night we have Portland Thorns versus the Seattle Reign.
The Cascadia battle.
Yeah, this is a Pacific Northwest rivalry. Both won their opening weekend games, and another chance to see Sophia Wilson,
Gigi's
mom, come in maybe a little bit earlier, play a few more minutes.
That would be great.
Saturday we have Bay City versus Angel City, another in-state kind of rivalry action going on here. So Angel City, like we said, scored 4 last week. Bay City also scored 2. So this is on national TV on ION.
Heyo.
And then on Sunday, we've got Chicago Stars versus Kansas City Current on ESPN2 at 1 p.m.
Amazing.
We talked about earlier, Chicago got blanked by Angel City. They're going to be looking to recoup that. Although
they're not facing an easier test in Kansas City.
Kansas City looked pretty sharp. So
you've got, Temwa Schwinga, you've got Ali Sentnor, you've got Croy Bethune, Michelle Cooper.
We'll see what they can do.
All right. Well, that's a battle of the Midwesties.
Yes, it is.
And we'll also be keeping our eye on the Chicago Red Stars for Mel Swanson's return. Speaking of moms returning to play. One other one I just want to add in there. I mentioned it in the headlines, but NCAA gymnastics conference tournaments are this weekend. They're all streaming on their kind of like respective conference networks, so they're not nationally televised. SEC network, I would definitely check out the SEC tournament if you have time. The Big Ten, likely UCLA is going to run away with it. They've dominated that league or that conference, so far this year. That begins Friday night, and then the Big 12 and SEC start on Saturday. So you have no excuse to not watch women's sports this weekend.
There's a lot of things happening.
There's so many things you could be watching. All right.
We made it. We are at the end here. Winners and losers. Losers are first.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to? I can only imagine what I'm going to say.
You can go first.
How many times can I say some sort of combination of the WNBA, its fans, its players, the 100+ free agents that are trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. We didn't even
talk about all
next season.
Stuff that has to happen before the season starts. We're gonna
that's mine. I really hope we get off this recording and they've figured something out, or at least wake up and figure they've had something figured out.
Yeah, that feels like a gimme, and I know we sound redundant, but like it does seem upsetting that it's dragged on the way it has. We've highlighted a lot of our grievances here today and in past episodes. So I think that's my loser too, just because I can't everywhere else feels good.
Yeah, everything's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, there's some things out there, but like I think that is probably the biggest sticking point, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I hope we see something the next couple days. I want to be able to respond to Kate, who keeps calling me from the links saying, "Can you buy season tickets?"
Sorry,
and I'd say,
sorry, Kate.
"I can't buy them until you have a season that is actually going to get played." Kate,
I keep putting her off, and I'm like, "We will." I need to know that there's going to be a season.
Right.
All right, winners. What do you got?
Oh man. I think my winner really is like, I loved hearing that little stat about all the moms coming back to play soccer. I think that's so incredible. I think it's so inspiring. That they have the support to make that choice. They are doing it the right way. They're supported by the league with policies that actually allow them to, keep their families close.
Yeah.
And it just like makes me so happy as a mom. Again, like I said earlier in the episode, like that was having a kid essentially meant your career was over.
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Yep.
So it's incredible to see these women do that and to be in a place where they're supported in doing it.
Absolutely.
Plus, I am never going to get tired of saying Gigi's mom on this podcast. I'm going to learn all the babies.
We'll put a counter up next time. All right. Mine. Well, so I think number one is the PWHL. I'm so excited just for where that league's going and the excitement they're having with that game in Denver the other day. And that
was so fun. Oh my gosh. That was an intense, you missed it, but the third period was.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much. It's so fun. I love hockey so much. And I love seeing just how they're going to expand. They've got all these fans. It's just continues to grow. So I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a second winner and I want to make sure I get this right. Savy King.
Oh, yes.
Angel City defender.
I forgot this.
Returned to the pitch after an incident last May where she collapsed in the field. They had to do chest compressions.
Yeah.
Removed her via cart and oxygen mask. Transported to a hospital. Later had heart surgery and came back this past weekend.
It was so emotional.
Yeah.
Like if you go see that video when she comes out, like again, the fans knew what to do, like honor her and returning to the pitch. And then I saw her make one of the best timed sliding tackles I think I've ever seen, like sprinting full tilt back towards her own goal, beat by the forward, Jordan Heitema, who has legs like for days, by the way, and Savy King is not that tall. And she just timed it up perfectly, slid across, got that touch. And like, it was just kind of one of those moments where you're like, God, I love this.
Perfect.
I love these moments.
Perfect story.
Thank you for calling that out. That's a really incredible story.
All right. I think that's all we got.
I mean, I don't think we could have fit more.
No, I don't think we could. I think
that's a lot. All right. Well, we hope that you will join us again next week for more. Where can folks find us in between?
rtgpod.com or rtg_pod on Threads, Instagram, and YouTube.
Leave us comments, likes, and shares.
All those things.
All the good stuff. Appreciate you guys being here. Till next week.
Bye.
Bye.